Thank you all for coming. I'm so excited that the room filled up, and I love the Lobbytorium. I'm going to be talking, it's going to start with like a casual romp through my favorite articles on Wikipedia. Then I'm going to talk about how an encyclopedia that's online, created by anonymous people, even works. And then there's some trivia, and then a Q&A at the end. So that's what you're in for. And if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. If you want to take photos, you can take photos. If you are curious about something and want to go on your phone and look it up, I'm not offended at all. So a little intro. If you don't know this is Depths of Wikipedia. It's an account I run on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, and I post things on Wikipedia that I think are funny or weird. And I started doing this in the pandemic from my student room on Ann Street, and people took an interest in it, and I didn't realize that an encyclopedia would have such broad appeal, but now it's kind of my thing. Now I'm the Wikipedia lady, and I'm the Wikimedian of the year in the media category, and it wasn't a direction I saw my life going in when I was a student. I studied neuroscience, and so I learned about all sorts of things, and my favorite was not the nitty-gritty physiology. I really liked learning about the protein involved in limb development called sonic hedgehog, or this bicyclic molecule that looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. But the Wikipedia has everything, and I think that it's clear when you read Wikipedia that is written by real people. I like this line where it's, in 2002, John Paul II requested that the media stop referring to the car as the Pope-mobile, saying it was undignified. The Pope-mobile. I'm a big fan of this Wikipedia edit where somebody saw the caption about a bagpiper and a penguin and decided to clarify which was which. This has since been removed because it was unnecessary information, but I still like that somebody thought it was helpful. I definitely knew about islands and lakes, I knew that was a thing, but I have learned on Wikipedia about all of the islands and lakes on islands, and the islands and lakes on islands and lakes, and also the islands and lakes on islands and lakes on lakes, you know what I mean. So Wikipedia is huge. I didn't really have a huge interest in the Romantic period, but then I learned that before there was Beatlemania, the first real documented fan frenzy was for Franz Liszt, who honestly does have this boyishly good look, nice face, and he would do these dramatic performances, and so doctors would diagnose these young European teens with Liszt fever. And I was saying, I did a talk a couple days ago, so if you were there, I'm sorry if I repeat myself, but I like trivia, and I like these silly little bits of history and culture because sometimes they're what Ken Jennings calls the bait on the fishhook of education. You learn a little bit about something, and then you're like, okay, I want to learn everything about music history. Another thing is there was a boy in the 13th century. Some of you are excited that I'm talking about on theme. He was a 6-year-old, and he would do drawings on birch bark as part of his school. And they were preserved for one reason or another, and so we can look at them. And what I really like about this is that his little drawings have these bold proclamations, like I am a wild beast. And he'll draw stick figures with way too many fingers. And it looks like the type of drawing that you would see a first grader make today. And you realize for all of history, people have always been people. And also now I'm so curious about writing and how it's preserved and all sorts of things. Wikipedia does seem to have everything. There are 6.6 million articles in English Wikipedia, and there are more than 300 language Wikipedias, which is more languages than Google Translate has. There's fictional worms. There are non-water floods. Beer, whiskey, Pepsi in the streets. Wikipedia has a photo for Vienna bread, which has motion blur for some reason. Cool. Which I think is very funny, and now I want to add motion blur to every photo. I was trying to find some Ann Arbor specific Wikipedia things, and some people have documented in great detail all the ferry doors around the city, which I knew about, but now I know so much more about. So tofu curtain is a term that supposedly some people use when there's a geographic marker that divides cultures. I know some people eat tofu on the other side of the bridge they don't. But also it's been used for drama in the Michigan co-ops where like, carnivores are fighting with vegetarians, I guess. So I learned about that. I sort of knew this was a thing, but I'm still struck every time when I remember that just like down the road at Ferry Field, Jesse Owens broke 4 world records. Or what is it? One of them was tied. He set 3 world records and tied a 4th. And that was right here in Ann Arbor on Ferry Field. I learned that the Domino's Pizza founder, Mr. Monahan, who is a devout Catholic and the former owner of the Detroit Tigers, he proposed a 250-foot crucifix, which would be taller than the Statue of Liberty, which would have been north on Domino Farms. That did not happen, but it could have. He's not the guy. A different pizza entrepreneur has Wikipedia categories that are life, pizza, and death, which is something to aspire to. At Michigan State, a professor took a model kidney to Disney World to see if roller coasters help pass kidney stones, and they do. So how does an encyclopedia work? The first encyclopedia-ish book that we have on record, according to most scholars, is written by Pliny the Elder. And there was no editorial oversight. This guy was crazy. He apparently wrote all the time. When he was like bathing, he would have people read to him, obsessive. And he would write things like, oh, elephants worship the moon, and people took that at face value. Like, sure, they didn't doubt that. And until about 100 years ago or 150 years ago, encyclopedia writers had pretty much no editorial oversight. There was like Pliny the Elder sort of cited his sources, but then when we got like World Book and Encyclopedia Britannica and these big name encyclopedias, people start like citing their sources, and we have editorial oversight. And how it used to work is people would get paid, like an expert in a field would get paid hundreds or thousands of dollars to write an encyclopedia article, until 2001 when Wikipedia was started and anyone with internet connection could write an encyclopedia article. And in some ways, that's not good. In 2006, The Office had a joke where Michael was like, I go to Wikipedia because that's how you know, like, you always know it's going to be great information if anyone can write it on the internet. And the joke is supposed to be like, you can't trust it. And that's like a good instinct to have that doubt, but as Wikipedia has grown up over the past 2 decades, it's become a source where, for the most part, you can trust it. And if you find something that you have a problem with, you're empowered to fix it. And so there's more editorial oversight than ever when everyone is an editor. Sometimes I post about Wikipedia, but I also write about Wikipedia. An article that I think is my favorite is when I wrote about how Russians were downloading Wikipedia in droves when Russia invaded Ukraine and was limiting the free press. Because for one, Wikipedia is less than 100 gigabytes, even with the photos. And that's English Wikipedia, and Russian language Wikipedia is even smaller, which is pretty small, you know, like that could fit on my phone. But I also thought it was inspiring to read about all the people that had downloaded Wikipedia and used it like in submarines underwater or in space, and how even though it's not a perfect source, it's clearly a collection of information that people desire. I'm sure you've heard warnings, maybe from librarians, maybe from your teachers. Don't trust everything you read on Wikipedia. And I do think that it's healthy to have some doubt. Wikipedia is a first stop for information. It's not the last stop. It does not claim to be the world's most reliable source. There are some hoaxes that last a few seconds before someone can revert them and ban that IP address. That's most of the vandalism on Wikipedia. But there are a few long-running hoaxes. Like, for 10 years, there was an article called Jarita Wens about an Australian Aboriginal god who had all these wonderful qualities, like not being conceited and being very intelligent and being associated with victory. And this cited no sources, so it should have been deleted. But for some reason it wasn't, and eventually it was published into books, and people didn't really have very many reasons to doubt this, until after 10 years, somebody realized this is all made up, probably by an Australian teenager named Jared Owens. So, shout out to Jared Owens wherever you are. Can I get a raise of hands? Raise your hand if you've edited Wikipedia before. Oh, this is a lot. This is more than I have at most things. Raise your hand if you have more than 100 Wikipedia edits. Okay, that's one. Okay, so a lot of beginners, which is a great place to be. And if you're here on a Sunday afternoon, I think that you clearly have expressed enough interest in Wikipedia that maybe you're interested and hopefully you will start. There are a lot of people that write these encyclopedia articles. Most of them work behind the scenes, and so it's not always clear to the common public what goes into writing an article and how much thought and how much debate and how much drama there is. So I have selected a few Wikipedia editors. I haven't revealed any personal information beyond what they have shared, but they don't know I'm talking about them. I just wanted to show you some of my favorites. And my friend Jake Eberts, who does a lot of conflict of interest policing on Wikipedia, he helps me put this together. He said, it's tacky to admit it, but I absolutely love being a cop on Wikipedia sometimes. Oh, your PR firm is pissed this article details a well-covered scandal? No, you can't remove it. Who am I? A 20-something with Wi-Fi, and as far as you're concerned, the god of this article. So here are some of the people. There's a person named Diana, who is a woman, which is great because Wikipedia is about 80% male, so we can work on that. She has a ton of edits, and most of them are copyright things. You can't just copy and paste your book and put it onto Wikipedia. You also can't do the opposite. She's a librarian from Alberta, and she's written probably everything you know about World War II. Nazi Germany, like Schindler's List, all this stuff. It's really important to document this well. She's also written the article on Sean Combs. Very cool. The next Wikipedia editor I would like to shout out is AMK152. He's no longer active on Wikipedia, and we're going to find out why. So remember the initials AMK, and I also just want to shout out that he put his IQ in his Wikipedia bio, which good for you, dude, but you do not have to do that. So he got into beef over SpongeBob because AMK152 thought that every single SpongeBob SquarePants episode deserved an article. A lot of other people said, yo, dude, I don't know, there's like a lot of SpongeBob SquarePants episodes, and this seems kind of like a waste of time. And so he decided to leave. And he started Encyclopedia SpongeBobia. It's still online. I think it's the funniest name he could have chosen for the site. And yeah, to his credit, it is an exhaustive resource. So who is this guy? Like, is this just a random guy in a basement? Well, maybe, but he's also the chair of the Libertarian Party of New York. He was the Libertarian nominee for New York 23 in 2020. So shout out to AMK152. There are all sorts of people editing Wikipedia. Here's one that I really like. Tom W. Sulzer is a handyman from New Jersey. And what I like about him is that he posts really, he just really shares his heart on his Wikipedia user page, which, if you don't know, is typically a place where you'll put maybe a to-do list or relevant information about yourself that relates to editing an encyclopedia. But no, Tom puts pretty much everything there, people with really cool names, or how to prevent crocodile attacks, the problem with Canada, attention dog breeders, and a flowing fount of entertainment. He speculates why are women beautiful? Two snakes, possibly black racers, cuddling on a rock. Of course I yelled out, get a room. Hey, I'm a Jersey guy. All right. Thinking about rhymes with orange and dorange. It's all pretty innocuous, and I think it's really charming. It's about to take a turn, though, because this next editor is no good. BambiFan 101 has been banned from Portuguese, Malaysian, Slovenian, and Russian Wikipedias, and was banned from all Wikipedia projects in 2015. When they ban you, they mostly block your IP address, but it gets a little difficult, and we'll get into it. So they have 293 proven sock puppets and 219 suspected sock puppets. And a sock puppet on Wikipedia is when you make a separate account and you use a different name, And so you're kind of acting like they're different people, but in reality it's both you. And so maybe you'll act like there's a bunch of agreement about something, but it's all you. And they did this with possibly 500 times. Thousands of edits, 37 different language Wikipedias. This is a 12-year-old. This user, BambiFan101, would claim that his parents were wealthy and that they would soon be buying Wikipedia. So it's like, okay, you don't really understand how things work around here. But also, he was connected to a middle school in Alabama. So you might be and then the telecoms provider actually blocked Wikipedia editing from his middle school and home or something like that. I don't really know the telecoms details here, but it was like a big deal. But what were these edits? Like, they were crazy. There are people that not only task themselves with editing an encyclopedia, but like cleaning up all the vandalism. They deal with a lot, like this person said, but BambiFan101 like was the worst they had ever seen. All these veteran admins were ready to pursue other side projects. And then this 12-year-old furry from Alabama was ruining their life. So the thing about BambiFan101 is that it's nothing like super offensive, evil, racist, illegal. It was just fanfic. Like they were writing their theories about Bambi, Teletubbies, Charlotte's Web, Madagascar, the movie Furby, Scooby-Doo, and of course, Bambi. So to recap, who is on Wikipedia? Jared Owens, maybe. Libertarian warrior for SpongeBob. Verbose New Jersey handyman. Utterly wretched Alabama middle schooler. A librarian from Alberta. And then there are so many other people, like the very combative 16-year-old who loves Nicki Minaj. The Indonesian anti-communist who annoys everyone but is kind of right about their arguments. And then Orange Mike, who was profiled, he lives in, I believe, Wisconsin, and he only wears orange. And he's really high up. He's an admin at Wikipedia, which is a big deal. You have to kind of go on trial before you become an admin. It's kind of like when I watch those Supreme Court trials, it kind of reminds me like, oh, this is kind of like what it's like to be a Wikipedia admin, even though it's very different, different levels of, anyway. Some other editors are very charming. This couple in 2008 took the photos for High Five when they noticed that there weren't any. Up high, down low, victim misses, and too slow with finger guns. And I hope you appreciate that finger guns is hyperlinked if you want to go read about finger guns. I reached out to them about a year ago, and I asked, like, hey, what's up these days? Like, are you still high-fiving? And they told me that they have, since these photos were taken in 2008, they've gotten married, they had kids, and they recreated the photos with their kids. They're living a very happy life in Southern California. And so I really liked that because sometimes I forget that the internet is made by real people just like you and me. What's next? Okay, so if you're looking for ways to contribute to Wikipedia, there are a lot of fun ways to get started. It can be pretty hard to find your place. Like, there's so much that needs to get done, but sometimes when you first start, you're like, where do I even go? And so one fun way to start is this website called wikishootme.toolforge.org. And it's a tool that somebody created that shows you landmarks in your area and what needs a photo. And so I was really surprised to discover that Wikipedia does not have a photo on file for the Ann Arbor District Library, at least as of about a week ago when I put this slide here. So that's a fun thing to do, and it's also fun if you're on a road trip and you want to see what's nearby. What's next? Okay, now is some trivia. I'm going to have 1 or 2 volunteers come to the front if you're feeling brave, and I have a prize. I'm going to show you the prize. Okay, this is the prize. It's a hat that says Wikipedia editor. I have about 8 questions, and so raise your hand if you are willing to answer. Okay, we have a volunteer right here. And how about you two? Welcome. Yeah, mics would be great. Thank you so much. Welcome to the stage. What are your names?
Right into the mic.
I'm Julie. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, Julie. Are you ready for some trivia?
Yes.
And then what's your name?
I'm Justin.
Welcome to the stage. Thanks for being brave. So I'm going to ask, I think I have about 7 or 8 questions, and I'm going to go through. They each have A, B, C, D options, and you guys can each say your answer, and then we'll figure out who's right. All right, first up, which of these historic women is currently trending on Wikipedia? Is it Joan of Arc, Cleopatra, Anne Frank, or Ada Lovelace?
A.
D.
Okay, you think Joan of Arc or Ada Lovelace? Wrong, you're not right. Good try. It's Cleopatra, and here's why. About a year ago, the page views for Cleopatra skyrocketed. No one knew what was going on. The Wikipedia engineers were like, whoa, what's going on here? They didn't know. They didn't have like it was a weird thing. They were inspecting. They were looking for bots that were maybe like just pulling the Wikipedia article. Well, it turns out that the Android phone started using this as a suggestion. Try saying Wikipedia, or try showing Cleopatra on Wikipedia. And so Cleopatra is almost always in the top 10 most read Wikipedia articles.
How interesting.
Thank you. Page views are fun to look at. I think it's interesting how Jesus trends every Easter and Christmas. And then Rebecca Black gets way more page views on Fridays.
That's so true.
Okay, next question. FDC Willard is a cat that co-authored papers on what subject? A, monetary policy, B, canine immune response, or C, low temperature physics?
Low temperature physics.
I was going to say C as well.
Okay, you're so confident. Is there a reason that you think that?
I feel like physics guys love their cats.
I'll change mine to A. I think I remember seeing this.
Okay, you think A?
Yeah.
Well, it's C. It's low temperature physics. Physics guys do love their cats. The story, this is a Michigan story, is that Jack Heatherton was a professor at Michigan State. And he typed out this whole article about low temperature physics. And this was in the typewriter days. And he used the royal we. Like, we have been able to do whatever. We determined.
That's
and
so funny.
he sent the paper to one of his colleagues so that they read it through. And the colleague said, yeah, I mean, I like it, but the only issue I have is that you say we, but it's just you. So you should just add a fake co-author. And so he chose his cat. And the paper made waves, and then this cat, FDC Willard, was getting all these letters and speaking requests.
What does FTC stand for?
His name sounds like a forgotten president.
Jack Heatherton? No, I don't think so. He's still alive, I believe, and I think he still lives in East Lansing. And FDC, I don't know exactly. I believe that the cat's name is Felix, and so it's Felix domesticus catus, the Latin name, something like that. And this is the guy. Okay, I said this one out loud, so maybe you'll remember. How many articles are on English Wikipedia? A, 50,000. B, 6.6 million. C, 71 million.
B, 6.6 million, because I remember.
Yeah.
Great memory. It's 6.6 million. I have a few more. This is just a random one. Which scientist was in love with a pigeon? Tesla, Archimedes, Marie Curie, or Charles Darwin?
Wow. I feel like Darwin's a misdirect. I'll say B.
A, Tesla.
Do you know that one? All right, it's Tesla.
Okay.
Wikipedia documents this pretty well. Tesla spent over $2,000 caring for the bird, built her like a broken wing thing, and then he says, I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me as long as I had her. There was a purpose to my life. And he would take pigeons into the places where he lived, and he was evicted many times. No one's perfect. What year did Wikipedia start?
C.
All right, good job. I did say that one too. It was 2001, and that is it for trivia. So I guess I had both of you, and man, I forgot to keep score. Why don't I give this one to Julie, and then I'll send you another one. I don't have it with me, but see me
Spain.
afterwards, and I'll mail you one if you want a prize.
Sounds good.
Can I have a picture?
Thank you so much. Okay, now if anyone has any questions about Wikipedia itself, how it works, about me, let me know. I'll be here for the next 20 or 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, can you talk about the funding? I feel like every year they're asking me to send $5, and I do, but I'm just kind of curious about the budget and how that works.
I'm not an expert on the budget, and I'm not a representative of the Wikimedia Foundation. I'll say that because this is live streamed. The banners sometimes are really big and have a very desperate tone. And so in recent years, some Wikipedia editors have taken issue with that because Wikipedia is a great nonprofit. I give money to them. I recommend that you give money to them if you can. But you don't have to feel super guilty if you can't, because they're not going to turn the lights off. And right now, it appears to me that they're financially stable. So.
So, sort of a two-part question. The first is, how do you find the articles that you put on Depths of Wikipedia? And the second part is it related to how you find articles that you edit? I assume that you do a lot of editing.
I often edit really boring things. I don't really like editing hot topics. I know some people really do, but I prefer to be in the behind-the-scenes articles. The things that I post, I find in a few different ways. Some I find when I'm editing, I just stumble across things. Other times people will send them to me, which is very nice. And I don't respond to every single message, which makes me sad, but there's so many that it's hard. So if you've messaged me and I didn't respond, try again.
Yeah, how do they decide which articles are taken off for relevance or not being important enough?
There are very strict and well-defined notability standards, and it depends on what it is. Like if you're a person that's alive, it depends on what field you're in, whether you deserve an article. And yeah, so for the, it really depends, but as a rule of thumb, if you're covered in like a handful of major media outlets that are determined reliable, then you can get an article. But sometimes this is hard because you're depending on the media's coverage, which isn't always perfect. There's been some scrutiny of Wikipedia's coverage of female scientists, for example. There was a woman that won a Nobel Prize, and when she won, she didn't have an article. And everyone was like, what? She's been publishing for a while. And she actually did have one, but it was deleted for lack of notability. And so when the media sometimes has some bias in what they're covering, unfortunately, Wikipedia can reflect that. And so I went to a conference a couple months ago, and someone was talking, too, about how in different countries and cultures where oral tradition is really important, it's hard to use that as a source on Wikipedia when it's not one of the very English-centric U.S. publications that has been clearly defined as reliable. So that's something that a lot of Wikipedians I know that care about policy moving forward are thinking about, because it's great to rely on media coverage, but it's not perfect. And if you want to be if you want to be the source of information on pretty much everything that matters, yeah, you have to think more broadly.
I have a related question to the one that was asked before the previous one, which is time-wise, how much would you estimate per week do you spend when you're browsing Wikipedia, finding what's worth posting?
I spend a lot of time on Wikipedia. When I was a student, I spent probably, on average, 2 hours a day, if you combine reading and editing. These days, since I think of it as a part-time job, sort of, since I can do some events that pay and write about it, I spend even more time, especially with contributing, because this is how they get you. You write an article or you contribute really heavily to an article, and then you'll see other people making changes, and sometimes you disagree, and so you say, hey, here's why I think that your changes are not good. And then you'll be in a discussion, and pretty soon you'll find a whole community that cares about the same niche thing, and then you're a little bit addicted. So I think that on average these days, I spend maybe like 3 or 4 hours on Wikipedia.
Have you ever found an article that you know would be a totally great post, but is a awful Wikipedia article that should be removed?
Yeah. Yeah, there are a few examples that I could talk about that are really on the fringes of notability. I posted something the other day. Here, let's see if I can show you guys. There's a Wikipedia article about Longboy, who is I believe like a duck it's an exceptionally tall male duck that lives on a college campus. You'll notice a lot of citation needed here. It's like the sources are like okay at best. There's one BBC News, but the rest, okay, then USA Today. Okay, so maybe it's fine, but a lot of them are university sources, and it's not clear that this is notable for a long time. It kind of just seems like a media fad. It's not the most like necessary article on the encyclopedia. So that's one where I first saw it and I was like, I don't know if this really needs an article, but then I saw the sources and I was like, okay, this is like well-sourced enough that I'm not going to delete it. And so there's a big debate on Wikipedia, not really debate, but there's just this long-time rivalry between two types of people. One are inclusionists and the other are deletionists. And the idea, like the inclusionists will try to include more things on Wikipedia, even if the sourcing isn't great, whereas the deletionists, their camp is more committed to the idea of Wikipedia as an arbiter of importance. And if you go on the internet and you Google something and you see it has a Wikipedia article, you should like think, okay, that is a legit thing that's actually important and that's real and that's covered in the media. And deletionists want to make sure that the quality of the encyclopedia is high and that everything that's covered is deserving of coverage. So, yeah. I think I like lean inclusionists. I delete articles occasionally. Yeah.
Is there sort of a graveyard for deleted articles, or are they just gone?
Oh yeah, there's a graveyard of deleted articles. There's a big, okay, so there's a collection of deleted articles with freaky titles. And, that's we want the project. Let's see, yeah, so some of these are like, it's one of California's biggest disasters, or sometimes people will make an article for like, the most beautiful woman in the world, and it's a picture of like their girlfriend, which is like very sweet, but again, it doesn't have a place on Wikipedia. So yeah, breakfast with gators, like all of this is very, I don't know. So yes, there is a graveyard. There's also a thing called the deletion log, where if you're looking specifically for something that has been deleted, you can search it on the deletion log. But it's less exciting, and you just kind of have to sort through a lot of boring things. This looks like it's old. Yeah, I don't know. But there is a record of most things.
So I'm wondering, for the different language versions of Wikipedia, are they like siloed affairs and projects, or is there interaction at the level of an administrator? I mean, is there a global council of Wikipedia administrators that thinks about all of them sort of collectively, like looking the same, even though they're in different languages?
Yeah, each project has its own rules. There are some examples of like different formatting on French Wikipedia, different like legal rules. I saw something about legal rules in France about pictures, and so French Wikipedia has a lot of like drawings as pictures. So there's definitely like independent projects, but there are some boards and councils that are like above everything. There's a board of trustees. There is various committees, like the arbitration committee. I actually don't know if that one's language specific. The Wikimedia Foundation, broadly, is based in the U.S. It's in headquarters in San Francisco. And that includes a lot of people that work on international projects. But then there are some examples of Wikimedia chapters, particularly in Europe, like Wikimedia UK and Wikimedia Germany, that employ their own staff. Wikimedia Germany fundraises by itself, which is kind of unique. So yeah, it's definitely a mix of independent projects, and that's divided by both like country, because there are laws, and then language.
Do you have any experience working on other Wikimedia projects like Wiktionary?
I'm not the biggest Wiktionary person. I've worked on it, but that's definitely not where I specialize. Wikimedia Commons is where photos go, and that's a fun one to contribute to if you like taking photos. Although they are pretty particular about copyright stuff, and so if somebody comes after you because of some, like, I don't know, copyrighted poster in the background, don't say I didn't warn you.
Do you have an opinion on Simple English Wiktionary?
I know Simple English Wikipedia. Is that what you're talking about? Okay, yeah, I love Simple English Wikipedia when I am, I don't know, looking for something really simple. It's existed for a long time. It's great for kids. I'll show it to kids. And there are a lot of Wikipedia editors that specialize in Simple English Wikipedia and discussing topics in a way that's like clear and uses easy words and yet still conveys everything you need to convey. And so I think it's really cool. And it's a very different task than writing on the English Wikipedia.
The question that I had, you mentioned in a few answers talking about notability. You mentioned it with regard to like the female scientist, but also obviously we've also talked about like SpongeBob articles. So I'm wondering where notability falls in the creation of maybe new articles or just general maintenance on Wikipedia. If you could talk a bit more about that.
It's so hard because everyone comes in with a lot of opinions, and there are some like standards for notability, but kind of like other texts like the Bible or the Constitution, it's all about how you interpret them, and people interpret them in different ways. And so the SpongeBob example is a good example of something where they call it fancraft, where like this is only interesting to people that are like major fans, and this belongs in like a SpongeBob specific place. But then you'll see like there's an article for every single New York City subway station, and you're like, okay, is this fancraft? And there's an article for, I want to say, every single episode of The Simpsons, something like that. Like, there's just tons of Simpsons stuff. And so, yeah, it definitely varies a lot. And you'll find that there are these people that edit a certain topic, and they've edited it for a long time, and they get the seniority. And even though everyone's operating with the same, like, basic principles, people have different ways of doing things on their own little, like, on their own turf. So.
My question is about the social exchange that you've created around Wikipedia. So I know we've had a lot of questions about Wikipedia itself, but what's the most unexpected thing that you've learned about yourself through the social exchange that you've created through social media, through these moments that you now have in person? Yeah, that's my question.
That one is a good question. I feel like I need to do some introspection. One thing that I think makes me really happy is that I started posting random trivia from articles just for fun for myself. And it was really great when people started liking it too. And I have a lot of like friends that do similar things on social media, just that I've met from social media stuff, who don't have the most wholesome experience. Like sometimes they'll get hate in their inbox, or they'll have people that seem to like deliberately misinterpret things they say. And I've been really lucky that for the most part, everyone's really nice and my inbox is mostly full of people just saying like, hey, I loved this fun fact, and here's another one. Or like, hey, I edited this cool thing on Wikipedia and I thought maybe you would like it. And so I don't know, I think that social media can be so toxic sometimes, and I'm so happy that, at least for me right now, it feels like a good place where I'm meeting friends and I'm meeting real people in real life. And so I think, yeah, I guess if it's something that I'm learning about myself, I guess it's very like heartening to know that the things that I like have attracted a really wonderful group and like a very caring and generous and altruistic like vibe.
So Annie, if folks have not had their fill of you yet, is there somewhere else in the state they can see you soon?
Yeah, I'm doing a comedy show about Wikipedia in Royal Oak on Thursday. And I believe tickets are $20. If that's an issue, you can message me and I might be able to hook you up. It's going to be just a lot of jokes about Wikipedia and a few games, and think like stand up, but then occasionally I'll have articles behind me. It's at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle.
Well, I first of all want to give Annie a huge round of applause for coming and inspiring us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'd also like to remind you, if you are feeling so inspired, we are looking for people to give Nerd Night Talks. It is not 45 minutes. It's only 15. So if you're feeling inspired, maybe go through and really learn the depths of a specific Wikipedia page, come see us, AnnArbor.nerdnight.com, and there's a submission there. So one more round of applause for Annie, and thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.